Thank you. Honourable Steenhuisen.
Deputy President, we find common cause with you on your condemnation of Adam Katsavelis's abhorrent comments. That word has no place in our democracy and it must be condemned, whether it's him using it or whether it's the ANC Youth League's regional executive member, Suzanne Governor, using it. So we find common cause. You would agree, Deputy President, that one of Madiba's abiding legacies was the focus and the importance of education. In fact, he said, and I quote, "Education is the most potent weapon which you can use to change the world." You would know that socio-economic justice, as you've outlined, is not possible without education. You would also be familiar, sir, that under the province of Mpumalanga, which has the highest number of adults who have received no schooling at all, it was your premiership that presided over that. How do you, as the leader of government business, see yourself as the custodian of Madiba's legacy when you've left such a terrible legacy behind in your province?
President.
Well, thank you for that question.
All the honourable members, there's no genoeg.
I'm not very sure whether you were well informed about what is happening in Mpumalanga. I can't be told by people from New York about what is happening in South Africa where I live. Let me tell you what is happening. Let me tell you what is happening where I live in Mpumalanga. One or two steps that we have taken. In Mpumalanga, I found farm schools. Something that does not deserve to be called a school. Children walking distances, one classroom, multiple grades, one teacher. To date, from the time I left that province, I've closed 500 farm schools. And I've built state-of-the-art boarding schools where our children, well, one day you will see them if you want to. Okay. I've built one boarding school in Steve Tshwete in Middelburg. I've built one boarding school in Amsterdam. I've built one boarding school in Donkerhoek. I've built one comprehensive school in Macharadorp. Currently, we're building one school in Tabachweli. But let me tell you this story.
Honourable members, allow the Deputy President to respond to the questions posed to him. The honourable members.
Let me tell you the story. I once told this story to the people of Mpumalanga. As I was looking at these farm schools, I was using a chopper. I flew around. I saw a little girl. A little girl was from a school wearing a uniform in the middle of nowhere. I requested the pilot to go down so that I can talk to the girl. The girl ran into a compound. I followed the girl. I found When we went into the house, there was no one. It was just that little girl alone. I looked around, there was no sign of food. I looked around, the doors were open, and I asked the little girl, "Where are your parents?" The girl said, "They're at work." I waited. I waited until the parents came home at 7 o'clock in the evening. Now they came home, I could realize that they've taken something intoxicating, and they were not aware that there's a visitor in the house. That was me. When I left the place, when I left the house, I realized that my duty is to save the child. The only way of saving the child is to give this child proper education, remove this child from this situation, provide this child with a decent facility, provide this child with a place where she can sleep, a comfortable place, provide this child with a place where she can get food. Now, that we have realized. The second time I visited the school that we have built, I found the girl. The girl was very happy, like any other child. I was happy. I'm happy that I've made a difference in the life of that little girl. I'm happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable members, the next question. Honorable members, order. Julle kan nie soos te kere gaan asseblief. Bly stil asseblief. Kan julle nie so vra oomblikkie stil bly asseblief? Honorable Hlengwa asked question 20 to the Deputy President.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The cost of living in South Africa has a deep impact on the lives of our people. The poor will often feel the impact of increasing cost of living, thus further entrenching the levels of poverty. Government is therefore very focused on addressing these rising costs across the economy. During 2015 and 16, the severe drought across the country had a serious impact on our agricultural production. This has led to increases in the cost of bread and other cereals, which are staples in the homes of many South Africans. The poor were, of course, the hardest hit. Since then, the drought has eased in many parts of the country, and production levels of wheat and maize has increased. This has provided some relief to food prices. In the last 12 months, food prices have increased by 3%. The rise in food prices has been softened by a decrease in the price of bread and cereals by 3% over the period, and a decrease in the price of fruits by 4% over the same 12-month period. This will have eased some of the pressure on the poorest households in our country, but food prices remains unaffordable to many citizens. There are a number of products that are currently zero-rated for VAT. This includes bread, maize meal, samp, milk, rice, vegetable, eggs, and fruit. A task team that has been established by the Minister, National Treasury, to investigate other products that could be zero-rated or exempted from VAT. It's hard at work. We expect to receive their findings in due course, and probably you will also be having that opportunity to comment yourselves. Fuel prices continue to be a concern for government. Between July 2017 and July 2018, the fuel price increased by 25.2%, leading in part to a 10% increase in the cost of transport. Fuel prices have been driven by a higher global oil prices and a weak rand. Government is currently considering available options to address the cost of petrol and diesel. While there's a lot of work to address the cost of living, particularly for the poor, there is also a lot of work underway to improve job opportunities and better wages so that more South Africans can be able to mitigate the impact of the rising cost of living. The national minimum wage is an important policy intervention in ensuring that more South Africans can earn a decent wage. The national minimum wage bill, when assented into law, will complement the efforts of trade unions through collective bargaining, as well as the monthly social grants payments. Honourable Speaker, it must be pointed out, Deputy Speaker, it must be pointed out that social cohesion can never be achieved if the majority of South Africans remains trapped in poverty. The escalating costs, especially where the poor feel the impact more than other parts of society, are a challenge for any economy. Given South Africans' history, the high levels of inequality, as well as the need to reduce poverty level, it is an imperative that this government must make it a point that interventions are found so that we can ease the burden to the poor. We have no choice but to address the cost of basic goods and services in order to provide our people with opportunities to create their own businesses, find decent work, and earn decent wages. Therefore, our response to address the negative impact of rising costs to the poor requires a comprehensive approach that is multifaceted. Over and above the VAT zero rating of basic food items, our comprehensive anti-poverty programs are geared towards cushioning the poor in order to ensure that poor households earn an income that will allow them to participate in the economic system. Government will continue to prioritize public employment programs to create job opportunities and provide many young people with some income relief. We're also focusing on developing and supporting small businesses and cooperatives in order to expand economic participation and job creation of all South Africans across all sectors of our economy. As we do this, the poor will be absorbed into productive economic development and employment opportunities. More importantly, the government has also embarked on a vigorous campaign to attract investment, which will grow the economy and expand employment opportunities. To this end, the President has announced an investment conference for later this year, with the aim of attracting 1.3 trillion over the next 5 years. This investment should come from foreign and local investors. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Sengwa. Thank you, Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Speaker. Honorable Mr. Deputy President, for the longest of time now, South Africans are always told that they must tighten their belts, but government does not seem to be walking its own tune or its own talk. We see nothing from government to cut costs, tighten belts, and so on. What we see is from government VAT increases, fuel levy increases, luxurious oversights with helicopters, a VAT panel which has come out with very poor recommendations. You spoke about the VAT panel. They've concluded their work, they've expired. Then they have not reviewed the 19 items on the list. Instead, they've added only 4, which are quite questionable themselves. There's e-tolls in the face of the poor. And the cost of traveling for South Africans is increasing on the daily. In Durban, commuters have told taxi operators that they cannot afford a further increase in commuter costs. So I put it to you, Mr. Deputy President, that despite of all that you have said, which on face value may seem nice, but quite frankly, we've heard it all before, what is being done in the immediate to deal with the escalating costs of petrol? Does government have a relief package? And I put it to you, Mr. Deputy President, don't you think that in the interim, it would assist South Africans that we suspend the collection of the fuel levies and relook at the energy regime of this country such that it does not burden the poor? The time has come for government to tighten its own belt as opposed to expecting an already strained poor South African to tighten belts within means which are not practical, not affordable, in dire conditions of poverty. When will the ball actually be in the court of government, and as opposed to expecting it to be in the court of poor South Africans? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Well, thank you very much. I hear your proposal. I'm sure you are not expecting a response just like that. It's a proposal that you're making, and you want us to consider that proposal. But beyond that, the President has announced in the State of the Nation this year that we are going to reconfigure government. Now, that process is happening. It's happening, and I'm sure at the right time, the President will make an announcement. We have just realized that probably we need to scale down the public service. As we look at our compensation of employees bill, it's a bill that cannot be sustained going forward. So it's important to look at stringent measures of belt tightening, because the conditions warrant that move. Of course, you'll understand the question of fuel. This is a commodity that we are not producing as a country. It's a commodity that we buy. So it will depend to those who are selling. Now, the price of oil and fuel fluctuates. It's a commodity that is fluctuating, and it affects us. And remember, when that price of oil goes up, it goes to say that transport, the price of transport will go up, the price of food, everything will go up, just triggered by the oil price, the fuel price. It's a matter that we're looking at. But remember, we're not just sitting and folding our arms. There are a lot of interventions in trying to help the poor to cushion the cost of living. Now, I'm aware that those interventions might not be enough as long as the cost of living is too high. we must continue in our efforts to ameliorate and to help the poor to live a decent life. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Matias.
Deputy Speaker and Deputy President, the poor and the working class people of this country are under attack from government because you are taxing the poor to subsidize the rich, subsidize the expensive and opulent lifestyle of the incumbent government ministers. And how are you doing this? By, on daily basis, increasing the prices of petrol, increasing the prices of basic staple food which is consumed by the poor, which daily is getting unaffordable. You have increased the VAT for the first time after 20 years. We have provided you two options and advices. One, increase the corporate tax for multinational corporations. Two, close the leakages in the tax system by ensuring that you follow those who are engaging in illicit financial fraud.
Remember, your time has expired.
In both cases, we have not provided answer. Now the question is, how do you hope that our people,
Your time has expired.
their lives must be eased when you do all of these things to subsidize the rich at the expense of the poor people?
Deputy President.
Well, thank you. You're making some proposals and you're insisting to say, do this, do that. We hear you. But probably it can be easy when you're sitting on the other side to say, do this, do that. A lot of considerations must be made on a number of proposals. But it's not that we're sitting doing nothing. You are quite aware of all the anti-poverty alleviation programs that we're pursuing as government. You are quite aware of the 3.5 million indigent households that are currently receiving free basic services. You're currently aware about the grants that our people are receiving. So I'm saying there are a number of interventions that seeks to cushion the poor. Of course, there are challenges. There are challenges that we must confront. But as we confront these challenges, we should not upset the economy. Should not upset the economy. And remember, the policy on free higher education, it's a very good policy, but it comes with costs. It comes with costs. It's good for the children of the poor, and that is a cushion that goes to the poor. Now, at least they don't have to battle to fund or get their children to school to receive tertiary education. Government pays. So that's a cushion. And that's money that comes from the taxes. I mean, I've never heard of any country where the amount of resources is more than the needs of the country. It's always the case that the needs will always exceed what we have. All the time, it's a question of balancing the needs with what is available. That goes straight to your household. Every day you balance. Every day you shift your budget. Your budget does not remain static as you run your own household. Thank you. Thank you.
Honorable Jaisa.
What is the question?
No, you have not answered the question.
No, we can't have that again, honorable
I rise
members.
on a point of order.
What is the
Honorable
question?
members, no.
Deputy Speaker, we're not playing here. We raise questions which we have applied our minds on, and we
Honorable,
expect quality answers to these questions.
yeah, honorable member.
The Deputy President is not
Honorable
answering
member.
the questions. How can we take him serious when he can't take
Honorable
himself
member,
serious?
take your seat. I've told
No.
you. I have told you
No.
to switch off the mic. You can't insist on talking when I'm asking you to take your seat.
Deputy Speaker,
Yes,
order.
yes.
But the Deputy President is asking what is the question. Just give him the chance to hear the question.
Honorable member, the deputy president will respond if he has to respond.
Yeah, give him
And I'm saying,
no, he wants
Honorable
to answer.
member, take
But
your
why are you
seat. Don't
protecting
argue.
him?
Take
Why
your
are you
seat.
protecting
I'm
him?
switching off the microphone.
We're working here.
I
We're
am
not playing
switching
here.
off the microphone.
Hayi, suka wena, wena uyadelela wena.
Honorable member, please stand up. Honorable member, withdraw that. Withdraw that.
Ukuthini uthi uyadelela?
Withdraw that,
Ukuthini?
honorable member.
What must I withdraw?
Honorable member, what you have just said,
Ukuthini?
withdraw it.
Uthi the Deputy President must
Honorable
answer.
member, if you don't want to withdraw what you
Ukuthini?
said,
Tell me.
if you
What?
don't want to, you
What?
leave the house.
Oh, I can leave the house.
Yes, do so.
Yeah,
Please
very
quickly
happy.
do
Oh.
so.
Very
And do so quickly.
uyadelela. I'll repeat that, uyadelela.
Honorable members, I think you have gone beyond the acceptable boundaries and you'll be dealt with appropriately. I request you to
We're
go.
not going to do anything.
Honorable member,
Nothing.
hamba ke. Hamba ke sisi.
Uyadelela.
Ngicela uhambe.
Uyadelela kodwa kusala, you must know wena uyadelela. This is not your own house here. This is not your own house.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Deputy Speaker,
Yes, honorable member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I rise on the point of the decorum of the House and your ruling according to the rules and the rule number 84, the way we're supposed to address one another. I therefore, irrespective that we have ordered that the member must leave, but the matter has to be taken seriously to the right forums so that the decorum of this House in future is being respected. I thank you.
I will refer that matter to the people who should do so in the rules subcommittee as well. Honorable Jaisa, please proceed.
Sorry, Esther.
Honorable member, yes, what are you rising on?
Ngiyabonga.
What are you rising on? Yes.
No, kodwa sihlalo uDeputy President akasiphendula ulokho ethi proposal. Sifuna ukwazi njoba upetrol ukhuphuka kangaka nje. Abantu bebe bengasebenzi ukuthi bathini
Honorable
bona.
member, ngicela uhlale phansi. Ngicela uhlale phansi mina. Honorable Jaisa.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Mr. Deputy President, for the purpose of poverty alleviation and bring about the social cohesion and also capping the escalating costs, what is it or what can it be that these SMMEs can contribute to this regard so that the people, particularly in the rural areas, do not suffer so much? Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy President.
Thank you. Well, you'll be aware that as government, we have supported SMMEs. We have even gone beyond the point of supporting, and we've created a ministry to specifically look at SMMEs and cooperatives. You'll be aware of all the financial institutions that are there meant to assist SMMEs and cooperatives. And that is working. There are a lot of SMMEs that have been assisted. We still need to scale up. I'm aware that as government, we're working on a program that would allow SMMEs and cooperatives to provide services to government so that as government, we present the primary market for SMMEs and cooperatives. For instance, we are feeding children at school. We are feeding patients in hospitals. We are feeding inmates in correctional services. Our view is that as government, the fresh produce that we use in those facilities to feed our people must be sourced from SMMEs and cooperatives. That is one way of providing the primary market for them so that we can enable them to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Kubisa.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, it's true that the soaring cost of living has impacted everyone in South Africa with the escalation of the price of petrol and VAT. However, Deputy President, there is a need to try other multifaceted ways to ensure that we do some interventions in order to create a space for job creation. Now, in your own way, Deputy President, at a local level, what do you think municipalities, FBOs, CBOs, and the private sector can do to try and assist our youth who have to travel from their homes to internet cafes to look for jobs, to places of work, whereas they are not getting jobs? What is it that they can do at a local level? Just what do you think they can help us with?
President.
Well, what I think can happen, probably at a township, rural setting, you will understand that those businesses that happened to be there in the past now have folded. Your shops that were owned, your general dealers, because there are malls. But what we are saying is that these malls that have been created in the space of these spaza shops and all those things, now, it's a big business that must open space in their value chain for SMMEs in the surrounding to supply certain goods and services. It should be an advantage that we've got a big investment in the area so that small enterprises can benefit if they are recognized and if they are going to provide services in the required quantity and in the required quality. That's how I think, because to come and invest in a space, we must appreciate that those who are building the mall are bringing money into that space, but all the goods and services that are being sold there can be sourced, some can be sourced from the surrounding, so that you can empower the SMMEs and your very cooperatives, so that we grow together. The coming in of the mall has caused a certain shop of a certain Mr. So-and-so to close, because people can't now buy bread in that spaza, they buy bread in the mall. But the owners of the mall, working together with these small enterprises, can find a way to have these small enterprises providing service to this bigger facility. That's how I think. But of course, as government also, we must intervene. We can't leave it to the private sector to intervene. In every locality, we are building a house, we are building a school, we are building a road. We are saying, as government, let's source these building materials from the local SMMEs and cooperatives. But of course, the quality of the products must be of the required standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. We now move to question 21, asked by Honorable Firudan.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. We must start by dispelling the myth that the expanded public works program is a failure. This program continues to impact positively on the lives of the participants, especially in alleviating poverty through the provision of work opportunities for the poor and unemployed people living in socio-economically depressed areas. The fundamental objective of the EPWP is to increase employment opportunities so that individuals who cannot find work can earn an income, gain experience and skills through productive work. Whilst EPWP contributes to the creation of employment opportunities for the unemployed youth, there is sometimes an unrealistic expectation for the EPWP to be a panacea for unemployment challenges in our country. In our take, EPWP is a transitional intervention while we're still dealing with the structural changes in our economy, addressing them towards full employment. Undeniably, EPWP has an important role to play, and it cannot be the only instrument to address unemployment. These unrealistic expectations are likely to result in failure and pessimism about the value of EPWP. Other government interventions that respond to youth unemployment include government support in initiating that promotes industrialization, government initiatives that promote agricultural productions, improved tourism. These are supposed to contribute towards increased employment alongside with the EPWP. So what we're saying, we should not regard EPWP as the only instrument to deal with unemployment. Through the partnership with the Manufacturing, Engineering and Related Services Sector Education and Training Authority, government seeks to address the shortage of scarce skills that are critical, required by our economy. This includes training youth on various artisans, such as boiler making, diesel mechanics, fitters and turners, as well as motor mechanics. You can name, there are a lot. Over and above the training provided to our young people, hundreds of small, medium and micro enterprises, which also includes cooperatives, have been supported by government. These supports include capacity building and training with regards to compliance matters required for SMMEs by various industry bodies. Let me also state that the abuse of recruitment of EPWP participants for narrow political, factional, or individual reasons is unethical and unacceptable, regardless of the party political affiliation of those involved. To address the risk of corruption and fraud in the EPWP, the Department of Public Works has developed EPWP recruitment guidelines that were approved by the Minister of Labour in December 2017. These guidelines describe the requirement for fair, equitable, transparent recruitment processes of all participants in the EPWP. In implementing these guidelines, all participating stakeholders are expected to enforce them. In cases where these guidelines are violated, members of the public are encouraged to report such incidences. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Filtani.
What a disappointing Deputy President we have in South Africa. The key operative word was innovative. You are just rehashing what has been rehashed with all that you're telling me, especially that I serve in Public Works Portfolio Committee. Nothing innovative in what you're telling me. Telling me about the policy I've heard a million times. So we challenge you to be innovative. Let's proceed and answer you point by point. There's no socio-economic impact that has been done by your government to see the real effects or no effects on this program. The EPWP is designed, speaking now in the context of youth, to assist people, especially the young ones. But the educated youth of South Africa do not go and queue for those jobs. And that's where some of us are thinking of, those graduates on which we spend a lot of money in colleges. Thirdly, training, which does not result in job opportunities, is waste of money, and that's what your government is focusing on. The original target was 6 million jobs by 2019. 2 years ago, with the economy struggling, it became clear that this was no more than just a mirage in a desert in South Africa. The question is, whilst the commissions and criminal investigations are going on, what alternative, innovative methods have you got for creating employment for our youth? Thank you.
Deputy President.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I thought I'm answering the question. And if you feel I've not answered the question, our apology, but I can read the question. I can read the question again. We have spoken about the triple challenges in our country: poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And as government, we have prioritized these three challenges. There are programs that are aimed at alleviating poverty. There are programs that are aimed at expanding employment, and the EPWP program is one of the instruments that we've created to get people to earn a living. Now, in the process, when people are earning a living, they are trained on different skills so that they can graduate out of EPWP into permanent employment. That is one. And it's happening. According to the question is condemning corruption in the EPWP. And I'm saying there were guidelines developed in terms of how people are recruited in the EPWP. Now, those who are participating have got the right now to report any deviations outside these guidelines. But that does not mean the EPWP program as an intervention is not working. Well, outside that, I have said government is supporting SMMEs and cooperatives. We are looking at a situation where people should create their own employment. And we have supported a number of cooperatives And we are still insisting that is the right way to go. Any economy that is thriving, it's an economy that is supported by SMMEs and cooperatives. Those SMMEs and cooperatives, they employ 2 or 3 people, they employ 20 people, and they grow into a bigger business. There is no business that has started which is big, that has not started as a small business. Therefore, as government, we should not waver. We should continue our support to ensure that these small businesses becomes part of the formal economy. You'll realize that a lot of these small businesses, hawkers, and you can name them, they are now in the informal economy. We can only succeed to grow the economy if we can assist these businesses that are in the informal economy to graduate into the formal economy. Thank you.
Honorable Tlowama.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I pressed it wrongly.
Okay. Honorable Fig.
Deputy President, it is a well-documented fact that where the ANC governs, EPWP jobs are only given to card-carrying members of the ANC. We know this because many residents have reported this. Some have provided affidavits while others have remained anonymous for fear of being victimized. It is also alleged that females have even been asked for sexual favors by ANC officials in exchange for EPWP jobs. With the 2019 national and provincial elections coming up, can the Deputy President give assurance to this House and to the people of South Africa that EPWP jobs will not be used to buy votes?
Honorable Deputy President.
Well, thank you, Deputy Speaker. I've said recruitment on narrow political and factional individual reasons is unethical and unacceptable. Now, that has been reported over time, and that has led to the Department of Public Works to develop guidelines on how recruitment should be followed. Those guidelines are there and they are working. And we say, now probably we must go on an awareness campaign to make participants aware that there are guidelines that protect them. So that if there's any deviation, the participants have got the right to stand up and report that deviation. That's the only way we'll make our people aware that any recruitment, any employment in the public works EPWP program should be happening according to the guidelines. Now, if the guidelines are not followed, people have got the right to report with immediate effect. We are not encouraging that. We are not encouraging employment based on party affiliations. We're not encouraging that, and that is wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Stole.
Asibonge mhlonishwa Sera Soblong. Mhlonishwa Sera Mongameli. Abantu abangaqashekile abasha aba 52%. EPWP ingxenye yabantu abagwaza iphepha. Umbuzo ukuthi ngokwama province abantu abaqeqeshekileyo bangaki ukuze bakwazi mhlawumbe ukuthola imisebenzi engcono kwezinye indawo ngaphandle kokwazi iphepha. Ngiyabonga.
Deputy President.
Well, okwamanje angeke ngikwazi ukusho ukuthi bangaki abantu abasha ngokwe-province abangakaqashekanga. Kodwa sikwaziyo nje ukuthi i-percentage in terms of the entire country, we have got so many young people that are unemployed. Kodwa futhi sikwaziyo ukuthi currently we have got a number of young people who are in universities, more or less 1.6 million. We've got a lot of young people who are in TVET colleges, more or less 2.5 million. We've got young people who are currently in training facilities, training as boiler makers, as electricians. That number exceeds 30,000 currently as we speak. Now, the Human Resource Development Council is trying very hard to match the demand in the economy with what must be supplied to the economy. But currently, yes, there is training that is happening in various categories. Kodwa kufanele sikuvume ukuthi kuna youth ephumile yadropa esikoleni. Bayeka isikole wo grade 7, abo grade 5, abo grade 6, 7. They've not reached grade 12. Now those young people can be trained, should be traced and be trained. Part of the 30,000 that I'm saying it's in training, those are the young people who have not acquired grade 12. They are currently in training, but of course what needs to happen now, we must train as per demand. Now, for instance, if I'm in Gauteng, the sector that is very big in Gauteng, mining is big. If I'm in Mpumalanga, mining and agriculture is big. So train young people according to the strength of the economy in that province. So that as you train, these young people can be absorbed into the economy. That should be the approach. But again, mhlambe question yakho yokuthi bangaki abantu abancane abangakaqashekanga ngokwe-province, i-information esingakutholela yona leyo uma ufuna ukuyazi ngoba yiyo engakayiphenduli. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Hlonyana.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Mr. President. Mr. Deputy President. I heard something. Mr. Deputy President, you cannot create jobs in an economy you don't own. The truth, Mr. Deputy President, is that the strategic decision-making powers in our economy is in the private hands. The same group of people who owned the economy 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and 25 years ago still own the economy today, with a few in government being allowed to benefit as long as they remain puppets of this white monopoly capital. Banking is central to any economy, but in South Africa, commercial banks and also the Reserve Bank is in the private hands. one of only 9 countries in the world. The Reserve Bank should serve the interests of the people
Honourable
and the
Member.
country as a whole, and not a private interest
time has
and
expired.
shareholders. The question is, the EFF will be tabling a
Your
bill
time
so
has
that the
expired.
Reserve Bank can be nationalized. As a leader of government, sir,
Your time has expired, ma'am.
Well, thank you very much. I've tried to explain that we are in a capitalist system. Now, this system dictates that the private sector will coexist with the public sector. And the public sector, in the main, it's in the hands of business. The public sector, it's in the hands of the state. In our case, we've agreed to follow or to live under this system with the belief that the state, from time to time, can intervene in the economy. It's not that the private sector, the economy of the country, it's entirely in the private sector. As government, from time to time, there are interventions that we are making to try and defend the poor. Now, we've made a lot of intervention as government. The intervention that we've made,
Point of order, Sihlalo.
Yes, Honourable Member, what's the point of order?
Bengifuna ukwazi ukuthi ngabe ngempela usekela mangameli ngabe uthunywa njoba kuwuthuma mina nje ngabe uthunywa athi uzosishashana ngophela uyahluleka ukuphendula ama-answer akhona yodwa answer
Cela uhlale phansi.
uzosishaya shaya nje
Cha, khulunywa kanjalo.
Yona
Cela uhlale phansi.
ithunyiwe.
Honourable Member, akuyona point of order le. Wena usishaya manje. Sicela uhlale phansi. Suthatha ama chance ma.
on a point of order,
Yes, Honourable Member.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, the President is not answering the question. The question was,
Honourable
On the-
Member. Honourable Member.
the question was, as the leader of
Honourable
business,
Member. Honourable
would
Member.
he support?
Honourable Member, don't insist on speaking. Can I clarify this matter? Honourable Members, I read out the time allocated to you. You can make a statement or ask a question. If you prioritize your statement, we can't be responsible even if your question is answered or not. It's your choice. You gambled away the time you have to ask your question in time. But even if that is so, you can't insist on the type of answer you want. The Deputy President has been answering here. If you are unhappy, you know what the procedure should be. It becomes problematic for you guys to insist on getting the quality of the honorable members. I withdraw, guys. Honorable members. Honorable members, take your seats. And be orderly, honorable members. Honorable Deputy President, please proceed.
well, Honourable Deputy Speaker, I'm sure we should avoid preambles to our questions because I don't get the question. It's a statement without a question. Thank
you. Deputy President, I think we've done with the question 22. Do we have? Yeah. Let's go to question 23.
Point of order, sir.
Sorry. Yes, Honorable Filtani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I want to start off by pleading with you just to allow me to finish my statement, even if it causes some discomfort.
What's the principle, Honorable Member? The rule says you must tell us what rule you are rising under or the principle you want to address. Don't tell us to wait for you to finish your 50-minute statement before we make our views about what you mean. What's the principle say?
It's the rule that deals with the relevance of matter.
Okay. So
that's the rule. I don't have the number.
That's fine. That's good. You're coming all right now. Go ahead, Ndati.
Okay. Chair, with pain, I have to say that we appeal to the Deputy President to familiarize himself with matters that were raised and issues in our questions. Definitely, all his responses to everybody who had their follow-up, he came nowhere near answering. He gave responses. There's a difference between a response and an answer.
Okay.
He came nowhere. He should rather have spoken to the Minister for Public Works to know exactly what the subject matter is about.
Thank you. The
Please,
Deputy President will respond to your opinion, sir. Deputy President?
Well, I don't think this comment deserves a response from myself. It's a criticism. Well,
okay.
Probably we shall have to look at it.
Okay.
Can we move to the next question?
I will say that, Honorable Deputy President. Honorable Deputy President, the question you're responding to now is Honorable Mabuza. Yeah.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, townships under the apartheid special planning framework were designed simply to be pools of labor to service the main industrial and commercial areas. Economic activities were confined largely to spaza shops, taverns, and other small businesses. Such policies kept Black South Africans out of the mainstream economy. With freedom that came after democratic elections in 1994, concerted efforts were undertaken by the ANC government to reverse the legacy of apartheid. We saw a rollout of essential services to the townships, which saw them being electrified, larger shops and malls located closer to where people live. Today, there is a flourishing number of township enterprises that were not there before. However, the opening of bigger businesses in the township negatively impacted on township businesses that were previously owned by local residents, in most cases leading to the closure of these businesses. It is worth noting that the rapid rate of urbanization provides a constant growth to the potential economic base of township enterprises. However, many of these township enterprises are still constrained by policies, practices, and sometimes regulations that do not give them the space to grow into larger businesses. This includes absence of appropriate infrastructure, municipal regulations, risk-averse attitude by some financial institutions, and concerns about crime, to cite a few examples. In respect of infrastructure, for a hawker who sells at the side of the street or near a major commuting center, the absence of water point or sanitation facility becomes a constraint. In township with inadequate supply of electricity, it means that spaza shops cannot have fridges, for certain perishable products. Similarly, small traders often have no places where their goods can be stored. Therefore, to address these challenges, government has been rolling out economic infrastructure such as electricity, roads, to boost the informal businesses in township and rural areas. To promote access to capital, we are putting more money into small business development initiatives to give agencies like Small Enterprise Finance Agency and others more and more resources to support township enterprises. We need commercial banks to come into the party and partner with government to fund township and rural entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Making space for new investment in township and rural enterprises
now the Deputy President
has the potential to unlock growth and
Sorry,
employment.
Deputy President, sorry. Please switch your microphone wherever you are. Don't speak. Go ahead, Deputy President. No, wait, honorable member.
Making space for the new investment in township and rural enterprises has the potential to unlock growth and employment, create entrepreneurs of tomorrow, and foster creativity and innovation desired for the fourth industrial revolution. There must be a deliberate effort to leverage government procurement to support economic participation and industrialization efforts in township and rural areas. Big business must meaningfully integrate township businesses into their procurement value chain to ensure that economic benefits also accrue to local businesses. For instance, a mall in the township must find a way of sourcing its fresh produce and goods from local farmers and producers where these are available. As government, we have begun to open markets to emerging farmers and small businesses to participate in our government nutrition program. We want to ensure that government is able to procure all that is produced by emerging farmers, to ensure that our facilities such as schools, hospitals, correctional centers contribute in stimulating the township economy. More importantly, we must leverage our government infrastructure development program to stimulate manufacturing of construction materials in township and rural areas. We already have township and rural businesses that are currently manufacturing bricks, tiles, doors, and roof trusses. As government, we will ensure that we support the development of township and rural businesses to supply construction materials to government infrastructure projects, such as the construction of roads, houses, schools, and hospitals. In some provinces, this is already happening, though at a very small scale. More work still needs to be done across all government sectors. For us, this is at the heart of economic transformation and empowerment. Making space for new investment in township and rural enterprises has the potential to unlock growth and employment, create entrepreneurs of tomorrow, and foster the creativity and innovation that will address the needs of our country. Township enterprises provide us with an opportunity for employment across a number of segments of our labor force and are an important means to address inclusion and reduce poverty. In addition, entrepreneurial opportunities represent an important channel for economic participation and transformation. This will allow disadvantaged South Africans, including the youth and women, to create their own opportunities to participate in the economy. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mabuza. Xandla xa President na khensa nhlamulo ya n'wina. I ntiyiso ku ri milawu ya apartheid yi cukumete vanhu va ntima yi va cukumetela ekule na mabindzu laha mabindzu lawa ya hluvukaka yi va cukumetela akule na la mabindzu ya nga hluvukaka hi ku antswa. Xa vumbirhi, milawu ya tax na yona yi tikisela vanhu va mabindzu lamatsongo. Xa vunharhu, maphorisa na ti-traffic cops ti pfa ti hlasela vanhu va mabindzu lamatsongo va va susa tindhawini to fana na va railway station na le mabazini laha ku nga na vanhu vo tala lava va xaviselaku va va hlongolela akule. Xana hi yihi legislation leyi mi nga yi tlakusaka ku pfuna ku tlakusa nhluvuko wa mabindzu lamatsongo emalokixini na le tindzhawini ta le xikaya ku hluvukisa na ku kurisa mabindzu lawa ya lava na mabindzu lawa ya nga akiwa hi xihlawuhlawu. Mabindzu lamatsongo emalokixini na le migangeni ya le xikaya ya faneriwile ya pfuniwa swinene hi government ya hina. Mabindzu lamakulu yo fana na va Woolworths na va Shoprite hi wona lawa na va Pick n Pay.
Timekeepers, honorable members. Go ahead, honorable member.
Xivutiso xa mina i ku ri emalokixini ku na xiphiqo xin'wana lexi xi fanele ku hina government hi pfuna ku xi susa. Xana nawu lowu nga endliwaka ku nga va wihi wa ku endla ku ri ehenhla ka swiphiqo leswo tala
Your time is now expired.
government yi pfuna vanhu va mabindzu lamatsongo.
Honorable member, your time. And honorable members, please, man, this self-appointment into positions is bad news everywhere. Stop appointing yourself timekeepers, honorable members. There are official timekeepers here who are keeping the records. Your watch is irrelevant. There are
Honorable Deputy Speaker, you are not being fair. You must be fair at all times. You are making sure that we use 1 minute, but you are allowing the ANC to use more time. That is not fair, sir.
That's not true. The record here is being read here and in front of me. No. There's a time here. I'm not in charge of this time. The officials are using the records here in front of me. So your defective watches are out of order.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Deputy Speaker, you made it very clear at the beginning of the session that the person who's named the questioners gets 2 minutes to do a follow-up question. The Honourable Mabuza had 2 minutes to do his follow-up question, not 1 minute. So he was within his time.
Yes, I'm just saying. Yes, I'm just pointing out that there's an assumption that we are increasing his time. This is out of order. Please, honorable members, you've got your dipstick in the wrong hole. Absolutely. This is why you are getting a wrong reading.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
I think we have been unparliamentary. There is no figure of speech like the one that we have now.
No. Sit down. You don't understand. We'll teach you. Take your seat. So, Khamli Sampa. So, no, it's very clear. No. This is why we read this thing in advance. Honorable Kabekulu. I suspect the problem is that of induction proper and so on. But we will repeat the rules. I'm going to recommend also that we amend the guide before us so that we include the discretion that the chair has, the presiding officer has over the queue. I want to repeat this. Because I realize that some members have come to the front here to take pictures of the names on the list on the assumption that we follow that order. We don't, honorable members. Let's repeat it. We want a diversity of members. We want a diversity of people inside parties. We want proportional number so that when you look at the list of people who ask supplementary question and you look against those who press the button, you can see there was rationality behind the choices made to spread supplementary question across everybody in as diverse a manner as possible. We have written to members who formally requested this. We do want to ensure that we remind you of that. It is an important consideration.
Deputy Speaker.
Yes, honorable member.
Oh, ndiyakuthanda namhlanje. Laa nto bendizama uyithetha last week unyanisile, I agree with you wholeheartedly. 100% uyasebenza.
Honorable Kabekulu.
Chair,
Oh, sorry. Oh, you were going to, what's your point of order, honorable member?
Mina cha ngikhuluma ngaloko okushoyo kwenkosi Cebekukhulu ukuthi he has had to step out, so consistent with diversity you can take the next person. We are prepared to be fair like that.
Oh, I'm glad for your generosity. Honorable Mngobe.
Thank you, Hlalo. Ngikhulume noma usekela mongameli usazophendula ubaba uMabasa. Ubaba uMabasa has not received his response.
Ngiyabonga. That's been very helpful. Sorry for redirecting me. Hayi hlala phansi ngizobuyela kuwena uma kubonakala ngathi kuyafunakala yebo. Deputy President, I skipped you responding to honorable member here.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. There was a break. I don't know necessitated by what, but it's a break. Well, if I understood the question very well, is that small businesses in the township are facing an onslaught by the invasion of big business? That's the first question, the question and the comment. The second question, that there is a proliferation. Proliferation, yes, of foreign-owned businesses in the townships, and that presents a problem. Well, the first comment and the question, I don't think the introduction of big business in the township presents a problem. I think this is an investment that must be welcomed, but all what we must encourage is that this big business must work with the small businesses. As I've said before, these small businesses, they've got services that they can provide to this big business. Only if they can be included in their procurement value chain so that they also benefit. This is one thing that we want to encourage in our townships, where we have got this introduction of big shops like ShopRite and Woolworths, so that they work together with these SMMEs. The foreign-owned spaces, well, it's a problem only if, because foreigners, they've got a right, as long as they've followed the right process of entering the country. Home Affairs must ensure that everyone who's trading in the country has got the right documentation to be in the country. And secondly, those who are regulating businesses in the township, those who are providing licenses to trade must ensure that everyone who's trading in the township has got a license. Now, this can slide down into something called xenophobia. As long as we don't follow our rules as a country of allowing foreign nationals into the country, they must have the required documents. For them to trade and open businesses, they must have the right documents. So I don't think it's a problem if they've got all the documentation that are required to participate in the economy of the country. But some of our people, they've rented out their shops to these foreign nationals. That means our people have given up. Yesterday, there was an attack to foreign national shops. The gripe and the problem was that these shops are selling expired goods. And I asked myself, now if these shops are selling expired goods, why people are looting these expired goods and taking them into their homes? That means these goods are not expired. That is just a way of deceiving all of us to say the goods are expired, but they are looting. The essence is to loot. Yeah, those were your two questions.
Okay.
If I understood very well.
All right. Honorable Ngabe, Honorable Mabas, in future, and I'm addressing you this way because I know you the way I know you. And I'm addressing all members. Hang on, honorable members. As soon as you say, firstly, please, man, do prioritize your question. Because if you don't do that, then you end up asking the question you really wanted to ask with no time left, if any. So all of us in the House members, please prioritize your question and listen to the time allocation you have. Don't appropriate for yourself, with or without compensation, the time in the House. Honorable Ngabe, please proceed.
Thank you, Hlalo. Sekela Somlomo. Deputy President, my question also is around the issue of the conflict between foreign owned businesses and our people. I will tell you, Deputy President, that the cause of the conflict is not the issue of documentation. It's the unfair competition that is happening. It is alleged that the foreigners will buy in bulk and they will compete against one person in the township. And they get the assistance, it's alleged, from their countries to buy in bulk and also to bring down these prices because they are assisted somewhere. That's the reality in townships. So I want to know, does the government have any plans to address the issue of the unfair competition in townships? Because that's the cause of the conflict.
Deputy President.
Yeah, well, some of your questions, you're saying it is alleged, it is alleged, it is alleged. Of course, I'm going to try and answer these allegations. Now, if people come together, organize themselves, go and buy in bulk, that means they put their money together, buy in bulk so that they can get a good discount, and that discount is going to be transferred to the end user, the one who buys. That is good business practice. Now, I don't understand why our people are not doing the same. They can come together, get their monies together, go buy in bulk so that they can get the benefit, the discount that is necessary so that that discount can be translated to the consumer. I think that goes to the heart of our problem as South Africans, that we want to run a one business show business. One man, I want to run my business. I don't care what is happening to the next person. Now, these people are successful because they come together. First of all, they are in a foreign country. They are compelled to know each other and to work together. That is what makes them successful. But the question that we have ourselves is that, are they here legally? Do they have the right to trade? Those are the questions that we must answer. But the rest of these other problems of competition, it depends how you market your products, how you sell yourself. We should encourage our people to come together and even own these big malls as a group. It's possible for them to build a mall as a group and sell their products there. But of course, some of the allegations that you're making needs to be investigated to see how far they go. If some of these things are happening, I think as government we need to intervene. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Malati.
Deputy President, if there's anything that the events of the last 24 hours have taught us in areas such as White City and other townships in Soweto, is that the environment in townships is volatile and therefore it's not suitable for a stable environment for investment. And this morning, the Deputy Minister of Police confessed that SAP's crime intelligence couldn't pick up in doing its duty to pick up that the violence would break out. So how on earth do you aim to encourage investment in townships when the very same ANC government is failing to do its job in making sure that our townships are a stable environment for investment?
Deputy President.
I don't think there should be any excuse from the police to say they could not anticipate that thing happening. I think they should have the capacity. That's why there's crime intelligence. So we must insist on the police to do what they're supposed to do. I'm sure it's a matter that needs to be discussed because there can be a place in South Africa that it's a no-go area. And we accept that a township, it's a very unsafe place, so we accept it as a norm. It's incorrect. We must do something to deal with crime. Of course, first of all, we should know who is in the township. Who's in the township? Foreign nationals who are in the township, what are they doing? We must know as a country. But all what we see from these lootings of the shops is that these foreign nationals are successful. They are doing their businesses in a successful way because they work together. And we should encourage our people to work together. But of course, this kind of incidences, as a country, we are not going to tolerate. People are going to be arrested for looting other people's properties. People are going to be arrested. They must be arrested. We'll continue to encourage investors to go and invest in townships and we must make townships safer for self-government. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Memezi. In the absence, is Honorable Carter here? Yes? Go ahead, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Deputy President, I hear what you're saying in your reply, but I think that there's an unfair advantage. And what do we do about the unfair advantage? The unfair advantage is that we find a situation where a lot of these shops, and especially you can just take a drive to China Mall right now, you do not get a slip, you don't have any guarantee for what you've bought, but how are they paying tax? That 15% VAT that is payable, that our people have to, well, that normal people have to pay, they actually don't pay taxes. The VAT is not, you don't know where the VAT is paid over. If there's no system of actually using a cash register or any type of slips, how are we going to deal with those type of problems? Thank you.
Thank you. I think that is a problem that must be taken up. There can't be any business that is doing business and is not paying VAT. Well, it's a normal phenomenon. If I'm selling anything, I'm selling goods, finally as the owner, I must pay VAT because I'm making the consumers to pay. And finally, I must pay VAT to government, to SARS. It's a point that we must investigate. Obviously, it will be difficult to make that business to pay VAT if that business is not registered. And I'm not very sure whether these businesses are registered. It's something that we must, because these businesses are just behind the houses and all that. So there should be an assignment on the side of government to check all these businesses, their status, and who owns these businesses. If these businesses are owned by foreign nationals, do they have the necessary documentation to be in the country? Do they have the necessary documentation to operate a business? Are they paying VAT? It's a matter that we will investigate. Obviously, if that's the case, yes, they do have an unfair advantage to those businesses that are operating legally and are paying VAT. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy President, it is Honorable Carter again, whose question you are now responding to, question 23.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. The President has established a technical team under the leadership of the Director General in the Presidency to explore various options in the conduct of lifestyle audits. The team, consisting of various key stakeholders in the law enforcement, public service, and the taxation section, is currently seized with the matter. I'm advised by the Director General in the Presidency that a stakeholder roundtable is scheduled to take place by the end of September to finalize recommendations that will be presented to the President for his consideration. Given that this process is still underway, once it is finalized, the public will be informed of its implementation by the President. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. Honorable Carter.
Thank you, Chairperson. Now, Deputy President, given recent reports in the media which raise serious question regarding your integrity and legitimacy to hold public office, such as the report in the New York Times, are you prepared to personally champion and undergo an independent lifestyle audit and to authorize the public release of the outcome thereof? And if not, why not?
Sithokoze, Sekela Mongameli.
Well, for the very fact that I'm holding public office, I've got nothing to hide. I'm in the public office. All my life, everything, it's public knowledge. So I've got nothing to hide. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Steenhuisen, you're the next to ask question.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Deputy President, you said earlier that you don't get information from the New York Times. This can't be true, because in today's New York Times, there's a letter from an individual called Mr. David Mabuza, who styles himself the Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa. And it says something very interesting, and I quote from the letter from Mr. David Mabuza. Every democracy needs to implore its citizens to look to the future, holding accountable its leaders. Can you commit today that you yourself will be the first to undergo a lifestyle audit? And secondly, what plans does government have to extend this to local government, where Mayor Solium Zamanga, who is still the mayor of Tshwane, has exposed rampant corruption from the former ANC leaders that were operating within that municipality?
Deputy President.
Well, I'm not going to comment about the situation in Tshwane. Allow them to sort their issues there. We were not there when they were making these agreements, so if there's a fallout, it's their own business. But as Deputy President of this country, I am bound by the laws of this country. Whatever is going to be agreed by this country, I'm part of it. And I'm going to do as such. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. The next follow-up question will be asked by Honorable Shengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chair. Mr. Deputy President, interlinked with the issue of lifestyle audits, particularly in the public service, and with a specific focus on supply chain management and procurement, is the issue of vetting. And government issued cabinet rather, issued a proclamation that all those involved in SCM must actually be vetted. But the shortcoming is that it has not happened, because the State Security Agency just has no capacity at all to do that. And so corruption then continues to thrive. So I would imagine that if we want a credible outcome of lifestyle audits, judging by the challenges with vetting, that's not going to happen. So what guarantees can you give us and South Africans that this is going to be a credible process without any due interference, which is actually a norm, by the way, from government when these matters are taking place? What assurance do we have that there will be integrity and credibility on the outcomes of those things? Because
the time is up, you have asked your question. Thank you. Thank you. Your question was asked. Honorable Deputy President.
Well, we're not going to preempt this process. If you're talking about the vetting of officials that are appointed in certain specific positions has been happening without failure. But vetting, remember, does not give you a guarantee that this official won't do anything wrong. Vetting simply tells you about the status of that person at that particular point in time, and tells you that this person is employable, there are no criminal records and all that. And it does not mean this person can be involved in any criminal activity in future. It tells you about the past of a person, and it can't tell you about the future of this person. So, vetting is happening. Since I've joined national government, any appointment that is made, vetting is a requirement that must accompany the appointment. But in terms of the process, let's wait and see the proposals that will be there. look at the institutions that will be involved. They will tell us how the system of lifestyle audit is going to be conducted. And I'm sure they'll be looking at gaps and loopholes that can be exploited by people and close those gaps. Of course, a system that you are starting from scratch, from afresh, it can only be perfected over time. Thank you very much.
Sithokoze. Mhlonishwa Xalisa, you will ask the last follow-up question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Deputy President, there have been a lot of allegations around your own susceptibility to criminal conduct during your time as Mpumalanga Premier, relating to rigging of tenders to benefit yourself and your cronies. Are you willing to personally subject yourself first to a lifestyle audit? And would you support that this be done in an open manner where South Africans can see that sustains their Deputy President? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Deputy President.
Chair, House Chair.
Well, subjecting myself.
Honorable Deputy President, please hold.
Thank you, House.
On what rule are you standing, Honorable Member?
On the rule where a member is supposed to make a substantive motion on the allegation made to the Deputy President by the Honorable Member.
Okay. Honorable Deputy President, continue.
Well, on your second comment, I've answered that. I'm available. The very fact I'm here, standing here, I'm going to subject myself in every requirement of this government at whatever point. Your first concern, there have been allegations of corruptions, of murder, all sorts of allegations leveled against me. And here I am, I'm still here. I'm waiting for someone to go and open a case and say, you have done 1, 2, 3, so that I can go there. Now, if you move away from allegation into something factual, then I can take you head on. Head on, we can go together in court. Taking you head on, I mean, I can go to court and say, so and so is saying this, and we are requesting someone to prove this allegation.
I'll say I rise on a point of order.
On what rule are you rising, Honorable
The Deputy
Member?
President should know what the figure of speech is as a former teacher.
Honorable Member, on what rule are
There are
you?
cases similar to the allegations that are raised.
Honorable Member, you
of
cannot.
him having taken people
Honorable
head
Member, that's not a point of order.
such
That's a
people
point
are now
of debate.
sits
I'm going to
under.
switch off your mic.
Such people.
That's not a follow-up question. That's not a point of order. Please take your seat. Please take your seat, Honorable Member. Please take your seat. Were you done, Honorable Deputy President, on responding to the member?
Yes, I'm still responding.
Okay, continue.
I've heard these allegations wherever I'm going, and for this, I think in this house, I'm responding for the third time, saying one and the same thing. I'm saying, please, if you have got any evidence, approach any institution. Let me be held accountable for what you are alleging. Now, I think it's unfair to continue to cast aspersions on the integrity of a person. It's unfair, very unfair. I'm ready to face any court of law. If I've done anything wrong, let it be. But it is incorrect to continue to cast aspersion on a person. That is tantamount to character assassination. I don't know whether I look like a criminal. I look like a criminal. Whether I look like a thief. Oh.
Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair.
Why are you rising, Honorable Tloyama?
I want to help the Deputy President. He
No,
looks like
Honorable-
a suspect.
Honorable Tloyama, take your seat. I'm waiting for the Deputy President to signal if he has...
I'm done.
Thank you.
Honorable House Chair, I want to understand if the Deputy President is going to say that he's going to take a
Honorable
member of the EFF heads on, is that parliamentary?
I think the Deputy President clarified himself. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we continue to the last question of today? As asked by the Honorable Member Buotas, that is question number 24. Honorable Deputy President.
On the 10th to the 11th of May this year, we hosted a third HRDC summit that was attended by similar institutions from the region. The intentions was to develop new networks, strengthen existing partnerships, and share the latest lessons on how we can transform our economies through educations and skills transfer. This is an important development in the light of emerging trends in the global economy, especially in the implications of what is termed the fourth industrial revolution. At that summit, a point was made that the pace of change over the last few years has largely been shaped by technological disruptions and innovations. Such technological disruptions have an equal impact on the current set of jobs in the market. Of course, we have to embrace these global developments. As we do so, our training and skills development must be accelerated to keep up with the pace of change, bearing in mind that even jobs that were considered as vocational are now becoming high-tech and require specialized knowledge and skills. It is important to capitalize on opportunities that will be presented by the fourth industrial revolution to our economy. In doing so, we must be mindful how the first three industrial revolutions impacted the world in general. The first industrial revolution, the Western world moved from mostly agrarian and rural societies into becoming industrial and urban, yet Africa as a continent lagged behind. When the second industrial revolution, that was characterized by a period of growth for pre-existing industries and expansion of new ones, such as steel, oil, and electricity, again, Africa lagged behind. The third industrial revolution, which is about the advancement of information communication technology, once more, as Africa throughout this period of development were lagging behind. Therefore, the HRDC summit looked at how, as a country and a region, we should position ourselves to mitigate any similar negative impact on economic growth, development, and job creation. The recommendations of the third Human Resource Development Council Summit had several components, including youth unemployment and empowerment, where it resolved to take research so that we understand clearly the supply and demand in the labor market. This should enable proper planning and absorption of youth into employment. To this end, government will ensure that resources intended for youth employment are aligned with the current policies for youth development. On the fourth industrial revolution, it resolves that the potential of future jobs in our country should be explored by relevant departments and institutions of the state. This implies that the fourth industrial revolution and the economy should be the subject of ongoing research, where targeted programs are developed to exploit its potential by connecting the National Human Resource Development Strategy and sector-based actions. The Department of Science and Technology is making investments in technological building blocks of this revolution through public-funded science, technology, and innovation plan of action. Through smart investment in research and development, the department is supporting South African industries to grow and create more jobs through building scientific, technological, and knowledge-based capabilities. The summit further emphasized the issue of partnerships between all stakeholders, especially government, training institutions, and industry. The Executive Committee of the HRD Council is establishing a standing committee to monitor the implementation of recommendations between summits. The reviewed Human Resource Development Strategy seeks to align itself with the National Development Plan. This aims to build a skilled and a capable workforce to support an inclusive growth path, which will be achieved through an increased access to education and training. In this regard, government is working together with various stakeholders in the academia, business sector, organized labor, and civil society to realize these objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy President. Let borders, does you date no.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. South Africa is still faced with the stubborn challenge of black poverty and joblessness. And I think the Deputy President knows that the recent BRICS summit affirmed that the advent of the fourth industrial revolution present an immediate opportunity for us to put unemployment amongst, in particular, the young people in a gridlock. Does the Deputy President considers the South African education system, its curriculum, its research capability to be sufficient to advance on the footpath towards the fourth industrial revolution? Siyabulelo.
Sibulele, Hlonishwa. Sekela Mongameli.
Thank you. Well, from where we come from, I think the Department of Education has done a lot in the right direction. Of course, a lot still needs to be done to catch up. We're still grappling with the third industrial revolution, where we are still introducing ICT in our schools. You can see that we're still lagging behind, but the pace at which we're moving is generally acceptable as a country. Of course, we still need to get more and more of our young people to school. We must ensure that we strengthen early childhood development, because that's where you begin to shape a person. Now, minimize dropouts from school. We must do more and more training on the very scarce skills that are required by our economy. So every training, every education that we do in the country must respond to our challenges. And we see the Department of Education, our higher education, gradually responding to our challenges. Thank you.
Thank you. Mohlomphehi Esther Hazen. Wat het daar gebeur nou, Honorable Hlengwa? Yeah, it's here. Okay, I'll pass. Honorable Bozoli.
Thank you, Deputy President. I'm really worried because this is all about education. But in Mpumalanga, where last time you were in charge of anything to do with education, we hear that millions of rands for education disappeared into a vortex of suspicious spending, shoddy construction, including in the boarding schools you boasted about just now, and brazen corruption to fuel your political ambitions. Can you reassure me that you are no longer as corrupt as you once were? Thank you.
Well, I was never
I know,
corrupt.
House Chair, sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry, House Chair. I know, House Chair, I rise on rule number 84.
Yes.
The words used by a member are so unparliamentary to the Deputy President.
Thank you. Honorable Bozoli, I think you know according to Rule 84, unparliamentary language, you refer to the Deputy President as being corrupt without any substantive motion. Will you please withdraw that?
I was just referring to what I had read about the past.
Honorable, you didn't talk. Honorable Bozoli, please.
In the past, not the present.
Honorable Bozoli, you did not talk about having read. You said it yourself. Can you please withdraw?
Chair, everybody knows.
Honorable Bozoli, please. I don't want to debate with you. Can you please withdraw? Please.
No, I won't withdraw.
If you won't withdraw, Honorable Bozoli, will you please leave the House? Please. Please leave now before the Deputy President continues, please.
No, not here.
No, Honorable Bozoli, we don't debate, please. Can I call the next one? Honorable Bozoli, please respect our time, please. We will wait.
The session, no, the session.
We will wait. No, we will wait. Don't worry. We will wait.
Point of order. Point of order, Sihlalo.
On what rule are you rising, Honorable Member?
69.
Honorable Member. Please
Ukuba bekuyi-EFF lena ngabe senibiza ama-bouncer. Why nanisebenzisa indaba ye-racism?
Honorable Member, you are correct. You are not correct with Rule 69, but
no, ngifuna ukwazi nikwenzelani.
Honorable Bozoli, please leave the House.
Kuba ithina nje ngabe sesintanta emoyeni.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makaula. Honorable Bozoli, please, can I have the assistance of the Sergeant at Arms? Thank you. I will now proceed to the next follow-up question as asked by, to be asked by Honorable Tloyama.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. Deputy President, I just want to give you an advice. Whoever advised you to agree to be a Deputy President hates you with passion. You are out of depth. However, Honorable Deputy President, the only revolution of the ANC-led government is theft, corruption. My question is, can a country led by thieves, dishonest people achieve the fourth industrial revolution?
Honorable President, Deputy President.
Well, I'm not aware of a country that is led by thieves. If you mean South Africa is led by thieves, I'm saying no. It's not led by thieves. If you know those thieves, go tell the police to arrest those thieves.
One of them is Brian Molefe.
Honorable Tloyama, I didn't give you permission to come back. Please take your seat. You have been answered. You have been answered. Please take your seat. We now move on. Honorable Sonyana.
Thank you, House Chair. Deputy President, in Mpumalanga, where you were premier for many years, millions have gone missing from educational budget in 2016 and 2017 alone. There was over 1.5 billion in fruitless, wasteful, irregular, and unauthorized expenditure by the Department of Education in Mpumalanga. And you did not hold anybody to account for this. How are you going to hold the Minister of Basic Education accountable for her continued failure to meet her deadlines for school infrastructure when you never held those accountable in Mpumalanga government for a failure to provide school infrastructure and for irregular expenditure? Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Deputy President.
Well, from the time I was Premier of Mpumalanga, the spending on infrastructure improved year by year by year.
Honorable members.
I'm confident standing here
Order.
that our expenditure when I was still there on infrastructure was the best expenditure. The record speaks for itself. And I'm sure you learned people here, information is available, and let's not abuse information and read it differently. The information about that province, that government, it's available to everyone, public. And I'm not sure why we want to deliberately distort that information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy President. That concludes questions to the Deputy President. Thank you for being here and answering questions. That is the end of the business of the day, and the House is adjourned. Thank you.